Very good, thanks.
Good evening. I would like to call the Muhlenberg Township Board of Commissioners meeting for Monday, January 18, 2021 to order. All please rise for a pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. For the official minutes for tonight, there was an executive session held by the board immediately before tonight's meeting to discuss some personnel matters. We have no public presentations on our agenda this evening, for those of you viewing at home. Public portion, we had two comments that have come into our box to discuss under a public portion, the section of our agenda which calls for public portion. So the first one was a Mrs. Sarah Kaibach. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But her item that she brought to our attention was actually regarding the Muhlenberg Township Authority. She reached out to us, I believe, on Sunday. So Brian, we're gonna inform her, or if we have already, that she should contact the Township Authority regarding a billing issue. So it's nothing that this board can deal with directly. So Mr. Imhoff, Commissioner Imhoff, as our liaison, I'll pass it over to you. So if you want to see it.
Sure enough, thank you.
Everyone comment, and I'm sure the Township Authority will be happy to address your concern. The next item that we received, one additional comments came in around lunchtime today. I can't really make out the name because it's just an email address, but I have the actual physical address, so I'll just read the complaint. And Brian has indicated that he's going to contact this individual tomorrow about Kutztown Road, 4530 Kutztown Road. And my trash is picked up in the alley and my recycling is picked up out front. She'd like the trash and recycling to be picked up out front because alleys aren't behind all properties. So we're going to talk with our friends at Mascaro, and hopefully that we'll be able to get this rectified for our next pickup. So Mr. Harris will be in touch. Thank you for the question, and hopefully we'll be able to accommodate that request rather quickly. Anyone else have, any other board member have anything to offer under the public portion they'd like to say? Okay, moving on, I need a motion to approve the entire consent agenda.
Move.
Seconded.
Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes, if any. The ayes have it, and so ordered. Any unfinished business by any members of the board or staff in attendance? No. Moving on, any new business? I'll move on to new business. Need a motion to approve payment of bills presented by the Director of Finance and Customer Service.
Move.
Second. Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes, if any. The ayes have it, and so ordered. Motion to certify the 2020 uncollected real estate taxes as prepared by Pat Lapia for Berks County Tax Claim Bureau.
Move. Second.
Questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes, if any. The ayes have it, so ordered. Motion to approve payment number 9 to Bolton Construction in the amount of $327,530.14 for work associated with the Public Works Maintenance Facility new building.
Move.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Just say the building's coming along really well.
Man, oh man, that's something.
Yeah,
Just an amazing building.
looks good. Very good. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes, if any. The ayes have it, so ordered. A motion to authorize the Public Works Superintendent to solicit bids for the 2021 equipment rental contract.
Move.
Second.
Questions or comments on the motion?
My only question would be, Butch, maybe you can answer this. There's a lot of machinery rental for road work that's being, that we're looking for prices. What roads are we going to be working on this year?
Well, there is a list, I believe about 12, 14 roads. Am I correct?
But to answer Commissioner Wolfinger's question, the rental equipment bid is put out kind of as a blanket. It isn't necessarily meant to cover the road paving project. They could be for emergencies that come up or something that the board decides they want to do at some point during the year.
So it's hypothetical.
Correct.
It is. I think a good example of that would have been if we were not doing a paving project on August 4th and August 6th, and that would have happened off of Rose Road. We would be utilizing this contract to have necessary equipment come in because it was above and beyond. Luckily, our paving contractor was out on the site, but it's a kind of more of a catastrophic situation than it is a common
Thank you.
practice.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes if any? The ayes have it, so ordered. I need a motion to authorize bidding the yard waste disposal contract for the Berks County Cooperative Purchasing Cooperative.
Move.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes if any?
I would make a comment also on that. I don't know who did it last year, but the work was great. I never saw any type of mulch that was like, almost like double ground. And a lot of our neighbors came and they took it because it looks so beautiful. The other time we had it is maybe just a one rough cut and it didn't look as nice. So my vote would be to get the ones we had last year.
And we could pay a little bit extra to have it ground that second time in process, and we will fill those mulch bins again this year. Hopefully, actually, we'll have 2 more mulch bins built by the time they start, and we'll be able to keep even more.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes if any? The ayes have it, so ordered. Motion to adopt policy 2020-01 and policy 2021-01 and incorporate them into the employee handbook.
Move.
Second.
Yeah, is that a typo? Is that a 1 and 2, or we're going back to 2020, the very first? We're revising it?
Although we implemented DST in 2020, we never adopted. We put the policy together. The board never formally adopted. I'm asking the board formally adopt it just for inclusion into the handbook.
Okay.
And in 2020, the policy for 2021 is a new policy for 2021.
Okay. Any further questions or comments?
The PTO numbers are attractive. Looking at them. Do our employees have the option of going for PTO versus a fixed sick time off and vacation?
We haven't discussed that with existing employees. You know, my policy has been any new hires, they'll be put on PTO. I came up with those numbers. You know, I looked at what an employee that was hired, what their vacation time will be, what their sick time will be, what their personal time will be. So I tried to come up with a number relatively similar. We do not propose any switchover for any of the existing employees.
Any further questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes if any? The ayes have it, so ordered. Motion to authorize the township manager to remove and properly dispose of engineering and codes records as stated on the January 2021 destruction of records request.
Move. Second.
Questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes if any? The ayes have it, so ordered. Need a motion to adopt resolution 2021-01 supporting the filling of an application to DCED for the designation of Greater Reading Keystone Communities Enterprise Zone.
Move.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes if any? The ayes have it, so ordered. Comprehensive plan update.
Yep, I just want a quick mention of the planning commission is in the process of reviewing the plan, and Kevin, I think you requested that I add a word to the agenda just to kind of give the board an update on what you envision in terms of maybe having a, kind of a visioning session with the planning commission at some point down the road?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. So I don't remember a month, maybe 2 months ago, I brought up to the board about the fact that we're working on the comp plan. But recently, an invitation came out from the CELG that Brian shared with us to get feedback from various municipalities regarding planning and whether or not they wanted to be involved with future residential planning and building and those types of things. And what happened was there was a discussion at the Berks Municipal Partnership meeting. And I may have talked to some of you about this just for informational purposes. But Fred Levering, who's the president of the Municipal Partnership, he brought up the issue that there's not enough housing in Berks County when we talk about future plans, about looking at bringing in businesses. So right now, the realtors in the area say that we don't have a very healthy housing market, because we don't have enough housing available. So there was a discussion about, municipalities going back and trying to make it a little bit easier for developers to come in and build new housing developments. Now, I don't often find myself at odds with Fred, but I kind of raised my hand and I said, 2 years ago, there was a presentation at the big meeting that we had where there was a nice presentation about redevelopment of existing infrastructure in areas. And the big push was about walkability and things like that. And I said, well, now all of a sudden we're talking about, a push to bring in new development. Now, I know Fred is tied in with Farino a little bit because I know he represents Farino and New Homes. The second part of the meeting had to do with Chip Bilger, and I think most of you know who Chip is, because there's a bit of a push from the Western Berks Water Authority. They're looking to sign on new customers, and they're looking at supplying water and that type of service to other municipalities. So again, I kind of raised my hand and I said, again, I understand that. I said, but it would seem to me that before we would move forward with, going back to our own municipalities and trying to push through, zoning changes or something to make it more attractive, I said, you may have municipalities who are interested in brand new development. Maybe they want to look at some redevelopment. So the more I thought about this and the more I thought about the fact that we are actually working to redo our comp plan, I thought maybe what we really need is a workshop, maybe just a couple hours on a Saturday morning, where we would bring in the Planning Commission, the Zoning Hearing Board, MTA, and even the school district, and maybe members from Laureldale, just to kind of sit down and have a roundtable and talk about what kind of things we might want to see in Muhlenberg. Does it make sense for us to take a look at some of our zoning? Do we need to change something? Is our infrastructure prepared to bring in new housing? How prepared is MTA to bring on additional businesses? And I think everybody's been kind of looking at these things in their own lens, but I really think we need a broader discussion. And what I could do is work with Brian and Walt Lasoda from the Planning Commission to kind of put some framework around the discussion. I don't want it just to be a free-for-all. But I think we need to have these different invested partners along, because if we're seriously talking about additional housing or anything in Muhlenberg, well, it wouldn't benefit us to do that without actually maybe talking to the school board to say, well, at what point, do you reach capacity in the school buildings that you have before you have to talk about building something additional? It's like, can you bring in additional students, because now you're impacting taxes on the back end. And I think an invitation to Laureldale is just a nice thing to do because they're working their comp plan kind of in conjunction with our planning board, because we're both utilizing the planning commission from the county. So I think we're at a prime time to do this. And I know that the planning commission, they're working up a lot of different questions that they want to answer in order to fill out or create a new comp plan for the township. But, it kind of comes back to what some of our visions are. And I think it would be a disservice, like the Butch and I, to go try to represent Muhlenberg if we don't really have a good idea of where we stand or what we'd like to see. And Mike, I know you have a lot of ties with, different organizations within the county, probably better than any of us. And I don't know what some of those visions are. Like we talked about, okay, a hotel, okay, a hotel for Muhlenberg probably would be a really good thing, but like how big and, where would we put it? And can MDA, supply water to a 200-room hotel or something like that? So I just think that perhaps a workshop, just a couple hours, kind of sit down, throw a couple of things out, see what sticks, just to get some different input, and then we could move forward. I don't know that the meeting has been scheduled yet, that the CDLG was looking at. I think right now they're still trying to get an idea back from other municipalities, but there were some more rural municipalities that really don't want to necessarily see a lot of new development come in. And I think we're kind of primed for redevelopment, if we do it right. And there's a lot of questions that COVID brings up, and it kind of ties into our Fifth Street corridor plan. So that's kind of my thought. I think, Mike, if we have the entire board there, we would have to publicize it, because.
Well, two things impact on that. One is, are you really deliberating on an action, or are you just receiving information? Or just receiving information is fine. Number two, we still have the protections of the state legislation on doing a meeting like this. We might, still want to, have a Zoom connection, but I don't think we need to open the room to let people physically attend at this point.
Yeah, because part of my thought is, I think it would be more important to hear from the partners, the players that would be involved, without opening to the general public and making it a free-for-all, because it needs to stay focused. There's a couple of things that we would need to zero in on. And the planning commission, as part of the development of the comp plan, they're already looking at going out to the residents to get their input. So that's part of what they're already working on. But I just don't want to see them working in a vacuum. And I don't know that it would be beneficial for me to try to meet with all of you individually. I just think it's a better conversation to be had if we're all present and have some of these other players there. And not that anybody's going to have an answer. I mean, the school board may not be able to come back and say, we can accommodate another 300 students, but at least it puts something in their minds that they need to talk about this. If we're talking about it, we should all be discussing it. I think it's just a good way to pull everybody together.
It's not hard to guess what the school is just gonna say.
Yeah.
Don't build another damn house and give them.
Right, right.
And I mean, you talk about forming your zoning. I mean, anybody who's seen the explosive development along Tucker Road and Stoutsbury Bridge over the last 15 years, apparently the housing developers feel very welcome here because they put up a heck of a lot of housing.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, just tell me, I guess us when, I think it's a good idea. Obviously, if we're redeveloping the plan, we get everybody in a room. I don't see why that's a bad thing to do. I would, like you said, I would caution having it just an absolute, structure around.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people with a lot of opinions, let alone another borough who we have zero control over. So, sometimes those get turned into, unfortunately, go the wrong way quickly.
Yeah,
But
I understand.
I think it's worth having a conversation, to your point about COVID. 5 years ago, I was said, I wish Muhlenberg was the #1 provider of commercially office building in the county, but now I never would say that with COVID and remote work.
Right.
So all that stuff has just changed the way you look at things.
I think the burning question continues to be, how do you get NGK developed?
Yeah,
Right.
It would be a huge economic engine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
but yeah, I listen, just let us know when and where.
All right, and I thought would be to do it on a Saturday morning, and I wouldn't see any more than 3 hours. It may not even go that long, but, and I would think we would probably want to do it pretty soon. I don't have a date, but I mean, the planning commission meets on Wednesday, and I want to attend that meeting. They already have, the comp plan is already on their agenda. So, I could talk to Walt. I mean, we wouldn't even necessarily have to have the entire planning commission there, but I just think, I'll talk to Walt. We could get a couple of dates, see what works, and then, throw something back to all of you.
How far along is the planning commission with the comp plan?
They're in the phase where they assign each section of the comp plan to an individual member to review it, to come up with the questions. So after Wednesday's meeting, we are going to start distributing those questions to the entities that we think are most capable of answering them. So for instance, take for example, the residential housing section. Some of the questions are, is housing affordable in Muhlenberg? Is there enough residential housing? Is it available to all different demographics? And, that item might be best suited for the Berks County Planning Commission to answer. So we're compiling basically a list of where these questions, should go. And then we'll send that out. Some of it's internal, some of the questions regarding parks, obviously internally, that's very easy to answer, with our own staff. That's where we're at. I think, I don't want to speak for Walt, but I think he envisions, community engagement to happen at some of our events, Parks and Rec events this year, in addition to the survey that we're going to craft. I think realistically, if you ask Walt, when does this comp plan get adopted, it's probably mid to late 2022.
Probably, yeah.
That's
You
probably
just- You just mentioned a survey, so you're gonna compile some information, you're gonna go out and ask developers and things of this nature, people that this will affect. Should we wait until we get that type of survey information back before we have some type of roundtable? Would that be more efficient?
It's a good question.
Well, one of the things that Walt has kind of asked me periodically is, what does the board think? Where is the board leaning? And I said, we really haven't had a discussion as a whole, because it's not something you can sit down and hammer out in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it would behoove us to have at least the conversation ahead of time. Because I think people do kind of look, they're gonna look to the board to say, well, you're sitting there, what are your thoughts about, development for Muhlenberg? Like one of the questions that comes up all the time, what are you gonna do with the Fairgrounds Square Mall site? Well, okay, we can't dictate it per se, but, we certainly have some leeway there to kind of have a vision. And I think at least gives us the groundwork so that when they go back to the public, they can craft the questions to the public that will help the public get a vision in their mind of what they want to see that the community do. At least there's some groundwork around it.
Let's do it.
All right.
It needs to be done. So, most of my Saturdays are open.
Okay. All right, and we'll talk at the,
Jennifer, what is it?
putting agenda for Wednesday. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else under new business? No? Board appointments. My only question was, Brian, do we have any vacancies right now with the new year starting? Is there anything that we need to be going after, anybody? I couldn't remember, so. All right,
No, we're good to go. I mean, the
We
highest
just
level
voted.
board has been the arts board, but we made the appointments to the MTA, we made the appointments to, Andy Russo Parks.
all right, good.
Yeah, we're
I was
good.
just curious.
We're good.
Public portion, is anything come in, Jim, under the, no? Okay, so seeing none, I'll go on to, well, staff comments. Jim, have anything else to add?
Really just two comments. Number one, we did receive word from the state that our 2019 recycling performance grant has been approved. We should expect a check for $60,000 in the next couple of weeks. And also, if you get a chance, drive by or pull into Lower Felix Park at the intersection of Whitner and River. The Schuylkill River Greenways Association finished their kayak launch there, 2 weeks ago maybe or so, and it looks really nice. The launch that the township will install at Dietrich will look similar. Obviously, some grades will be different, but same concept.
No items on the planning commission subdivision wise for Wednesday, just a comprehensive plan, so the meeting will be tailored to discussing that.
All right, Commissioner Lurch.
Happy New Year, everybody. You know, the conversation we just had, I think is important. It's nice to know we keep moving forward in Muhlenberg. We've done a lot over the last couple of years, and there's still always things to do. The comp plan is a big piece of that. I think passing the Greater Reading Keystone Communities Enterprise Zone, you know, that also helps people know that, yes, we are interested in continuing developing Muhlenberg, and I'm just excited to see things continue to grow in 2021. I think we did the best we could in 2020 with all things considered, and I think it's going to be an exciting year.
Thank you. Commissioner Imhoff.
Yeah, I was thinking, when we were talking earlier, CELG for the folks on Zoom. That stands for Centers for Excellence in Local Government. That is an Albright College program. And most of the municipalities in this county are members of CELG. So a lot of information comes down through there. That's kind of what Kevin was talking about. And it's a good organization which we support and are a vocal part of. Other than that, we were just talking a little earlier about getting back to normal. I know I'm ready. I think everybody else is. I think we're all ready for normal and spring. So, hopefully those two things go relatively smoothly.
And Riverfest.
And, oh yeah, and Riverfest planning is coming. Matter of fact, when you say something about the pickleball we were just talking about.
Sure.
Okay? That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Wolfinger.
Do we have anybody out there?
Somebody's out there. Anyone out there?
Yeah. It's a new year, happy new year, and I just would like to plug the Ambulance Association because your membership is due, and it's worth every penny. If that ambulance has to come to your house, instead of paying $1,500, you're good. So, noted in the reports today, the firefighters got their incentive program money, and 28 or 29 firefighters were made incentives there, and some of them made as much as $3,000. So if anybody's out there, we always need some volunteer firemen, and Chief Moyer will take your phone call if you're interested. Butch did mention about pickleball. Our park system, and I said this from the very beginning, is second, I think, to none in the county. We have so many things going on in our parks. We do have a pickleball court. I think there are 3 over there at Temple.
2.
Okay, I think there's 3. But in any case, I don't even know, I don't know if there's an antenna going up next to the skateways. So, a lot of people are using it, and I think we're discussing the possibility of putting another pickleball court down at Laurel Run Park. And that would go where the current volleyball courts are. We're still talking about it, but it's a good possibility. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lupia.
Just sending thoughts of positivity. It's a new year and fresh start. Lots of exciting things happening in our township, and I'd like to thank the staff and certainly the police for getting us through this past difficult year and wanting new and better things. So here's hoping and praying that 2021 is going to be a lot better than 2020.
Thank you, Commissioner. Happy New Year. Thanks to all those out there who joined us or watch us on recording, because we recorded correct. So any questions, feel free to utilize the township's website. Also be abreast of our changing schedule and hours. Hopefully we'll all either be ready to get back to some normalcy, which we're going to, because as Commissioner Lurch stated, we're all excited to see our planning commission and zoning hearing boards have agendas that takes them 4 or 5 hours, not 4 or 5 minutes. So that's one of the things COVID's done to us. So hopefully we can get through that pretty quickly. So thanks to my board. The building will reopen on Monday, the 25th at normal hours of operation. Just be sure to read the signs, wear your mask inside the building, and practice the appropriate safety measures. Thank you. Have a good evening. Are we all?
Hang on.